Hello, Les. So I'd like to take this time to just explain to you basically how all this comes together with how we will be using or designing the platform that you actually have. Now, before I jump into this, let me explain to you how most companies use this brand guideline to build their entire systems. Uh, I'll begin with the most basic ones. For example, if you go to platforms like Google Trends, for example, you will notice that the letters are the same. They have a particular color theme that is being used. The images, while they might seem that they were just put there, these images most times are vetted so that it keeps the overall design feel of this platform. If there are some images you can put here that will not fit or match that they fit on this website here. And if you go down, for example, you'll notice that there is a way they have their divs with like the rounded corners, and that is how all their corners are. They are rounded. They are not sharp or square. And if you look at their buttons are all like light blue. They have light blue highlights. Same for these rounded corners. The same text. They use the same font all over the entire page. All these are basically rules. Now, if you Google Trends, Google Trends brand guidelines, you'll get this PDF here. I already got it here, right? But this is basically what we are doing. So I just basically, if you go through the brand guidelines of Google Trends, you'll notice that they talk about how to use the brand guidelines. On it's basically guidelines containing recommendations for various ways to use the name, the logo, the language without having to call the people at Google. So they talk about things like their logo, how their logo is used, as you can see right here, and how to not use their logo. Um, it talks about the logo mockups, the rules. These are basically all the rules that just sort of explain to the designer how to go about when designing the platform. You will see the same for Facebook. If you Google Facebook brand guidelines, you'll find this document there. It talks about in great detail how uh, how to the rules to follow on the brand guides and what not to follow. It basically tells you how to use their logo, as you can see here. It shows you the do's and the don'ts of the logo usage, how to use their social media channels and all that stuff there, and then how to. All these are basically rules. The emojis to use and how they look like, as you can see here, they are all well detailed. All these, the reactions, these these are all brand guidelines. Now, when we come to the designs that we had here, right, these are also brand guidelines. But before I explain to you how these brand guidelines here work, I'll, I'll show you another small example. So if you go to Lapa.Ninja, this is a very good page where most people go and get inspiration for websites. So let's look at some few sites. Let's look at this. Okay, let's look at this site here. They have a particular theme going on. They have some nice, beautiful buttons. When you scroll down, it looks very nice and rich and clean. It looks very modern. Uh, that means they have a brand guideline that they followed. When when you have a brand guideline design, it's easy to sort of for the designer to make decisions because you've basically aligned yourselves together. If there is no brand guidelines like this, I would just be designing a landing page, but when I have no idea about what you like for colors or for fonts. So this is like a really good way of like helping us sort of like agree on look and feel. So with these guys, they have their own theme. They have a particular background, they have a particular font. All these are basically uh, this is an aesthetic that has been agreed upon based off of a brand guideline. The same for, let's see this as well. I want to get to the brand guideline. Even this, they have a particular theme they are going for. That means if you go to any other page that they have, like pricing or the blog, or even the product. When you go down, you will notice the page still looks the same. Everything comes together in line. It is a style guide, so it's easier to have the brand all over the entire website, right? Now, let me then get to explaining to how we are going to use this. So this is basically the brand identity for Homesoul, right? Now, I'm going to go through page by page so that I basically to like explain. So here I basically give a small debrief of what of my understanding of Homesoul, and I just try to like explain to you that hey, this is the this is what Homesoul is about. These will be the brand guidelines that explain to you the colors, the mission, the values, and all that stuff that just helps the user understand more about what Homesoul is about. So you can think of this as a you can think of this as the start. Then this is a page, uh, the content numbers, the brand. With here, I basically explain what the brand is about, and feel free to like give me some more ideas on what you think. Now, this is how I understood HomeSol and the values, the seven core components: academy, construction, finance and banking, consulting, and manufacture. Based on the information you had given me, these are the core values that I got from your statement, the one that you had shared via the WhatsApp group. We can always talk about this and change this. Then the brand values that I understood were there was sustainability, education, collaboration, integrity, and well-being and innovation. Again, this is a low-level explanation of what I understand Home Soul to be all about. We can always talk about this in vivid detail and polish the text. These are just to sort of help uh, you and me sort of like understand that hey, this is what Home Soul is about. If someone has a strong understanding of what Home Soul is and their brand values, they can easily make bigger decisions on text font, on coloring, and these will eventually pass on to the system that I'll be designing for the platform. Then I talk about then the personality. I talk about how is home soul going to be perceived when I'm designing the landing pages. How do I want the people to feel like? And based on the fact that there is a word home and soul in your name, I figured that there would be both a friendly and an approachable feel that the users should be getting when they come onto the landing page. I want them to feel like it is sort of um like it's the eye of the storm where someone basically feels like yes I'm on their page, so I can basically feel like it's with the green I feel supported, I feel welcome. There's an empathetic demeanor about the entire website. That's the personality that I got from also, and that also will explain more with this class here that I use here. The voice and tone, based on the on what I know on who we are and the branding. It's going to be warm and supportive and knowledgeable, combining friendly empathy with clear expert insights to reassure and guide the users. It needs to be a very simple user interface. It shouldn't be very hard. I want the interface to be built in such a way that when someone who has never used it before logs onto HomeSol, it's very easy to interact with HomeSol and not have a hard time. Like it will be like ABCs. You don't need to basically go for training. It will be a very simple platform, nothing complicated. And that can also be done through the voice if we are more engaging and confident and are like committed to sort of be empathetic through like our approach. That should help us go pushing further. Then here I talk about the logo. So I did make changes to the logo as well. But feel free. You mentioned you don't like the bright green. We can always talk about that. Uh, I can always change the colors, but for now, let me just explain why I came up with this style here. So other than having home sold down here, I figured it to be much better like this. This way, it can go on the nav bar of a website very well and still look clean. We could maybe add that tagline down here, but I'm not so sure about that. I feel like if you keep it minimalist, it will be very, very clean because most um, companies that have like a platform software um, don't tend to have a tagline on their logos. For example, if we were to look for, I mean, let's try Amazon logo. Can see what they say. They don't have a tagline. Let me see Amazon logo tagline, and you're done. So it changes based on what service I think is being offered. And given we have several services on Homesoul, we could uh, add those depending on how you feel about that. But I personally don't think we need to have a tagline. I think it's a lot more cleaner like this. Yeah, then there's a logo on white, minimalist clean. I also think it's a little bit too bright because there's very little contrast on the background here. But I love the lime coloring. It just feels very rich and nice. Then there's a on black. This looks really good compared to this, in my opinion. So now here I'm just basically trying to like explain how you'll be using the logo and how I'm using the logo on the platform. So there's a logo type, then there's a logo brand mark. This is a brand mark. This can go on like mobile apps. This can go on the website as well, on the navigation bar. And then this is just the word home. So it needs to always be together. So I'm just sort of setting up the rules so that we obey them when we are building the system. This is the brand mark, the official logo that was done. Then this is a logo type, the word on it. Then here I basically say that whenever there is a logo, there needs to be space. Nothing should be very, very close to the logo. It needs to have its own space. And here I explain that the space needs to be at least a quarter of this. That's why there's this box here, a quarter of this brand mark. Then here I talk about the usage. I basically say the logo should be never changed in color like this. It needs to be always the brand colors. It should never be switched. Then yeah, I'm like, yes, the logo can be used when we're having images on the landing page. They need to be like very nice home images and logo can go on top. Or something very clean and minimalist as this. I'm basically saying how to use a logo. Then same as well, we should never use colors that are not of the brand, but we can use colors that are of the brand. Yeah, and I'll be changing this to a much better color later on, but we'll see. Same as this, this shows how we'll be using the logo. It should never be at at the bottom like this. It needs or upside down. It needs to be always straight and direct. Here again, I'm showing how the logo will be used on across the website or the graphics I'll be using. So whenever I'm making graphics for the logo, they needs to be on a nice upfront and detailed, organized way. This is why we have this here. Okay, then here I talk about typography. This is basically the font that explains the core value of Homesoul. What do I mean? This will be our font. Our font is going to be called Inter. It's a free typeface. It's very strong. It's a sans serif font, and it's very steadfast. It communicates a lot of like strength. It communicates organization, simplicity, cleanliness. There is no need to be super complex. You can make things very easy for the users. It's easy to read. As you can see right here, we won't need a primary or secondary font. This will be the only font that we'll be using. I talk about the weights here. These are all the styles we'll be using on the system, on the landing pages. Then here I talk about, I give it also the header, header 2, header 3, header 4. I basically talk about the bold part. These will be the headings on the website and the app. These will be the header tools. This can be like the subheadings. This can be the second subheadings. Second headings can be the body. All these are the instructions so that someone obeys them and sticks to them. And here I then show you how I use them. This can be very nice on the website. Very nice boxes, very informative. very calculative, and they help uh, the designers and the users both like easily read and notice things respectively. Then you talk about the color palette. When you come to the color palette, these are the brand colors for Homesoul. You said you didn't like this light green, so I'll change this to green to something much more darker compared to the logo that you had given me. Probably something in this uh, something in this range. Here I talk about the colors. I talk about here I explain how the colors will be used. Basically, CMY here is for printing. This is for digital work, and then this is mostly for like websites for high quality web design work. Here's an example of how I use the colors. Then here's an example of how I use the colors and the logo. This is a really like high level explanation. You can see the backgrounds I've used and then how the logos will work together with the colors. Yes. Then I move forward to the graphic elements. Because these are going to be used on the website so much, I try to give it a deep dive. I try to show that, hey, these are the photos that we need. Feel free giving me some ideas, Alice. So here I basically say, when we are using photos, let's use this kind of photos of indoor photography, very nice, rich, and high fidelity. I didn't use a lot of people here, but mostly like housing, so that um, people feel the need to sort of like engage more with the platform. It's important that you don't use people in these pictures because this way people sort of it doesn't really it takes away attention from the background behind. But this is something that open to hear your thoughts on. Again, I use here more photography of indoor housing, construction, environment, sustainability, lighting, as you can see over here. Then here I talk about the patterns. These will be the patterns on the platform. It can be like the header part or the footer. We'll be using this uh, brand mark a lot to sort of like explain more about what the um, about what home soul is about when it comes to patterns. You see the same here. This is on the left, then the right as well. All the patterns revolve around this brand mark with no type there. Then the applications here, I then do a deep dive into how the posters look like. This is more of a miscellaneous third-hand explanation, talking about in case we make posters, these are some things that you use and the rules and some of how they will look like in person, like outside there in the wild. Then some of the brochures, and I'll be using some of these styles here when I'm building the landing page. I'll be using some of these similar styles here. Then these are some of the renders of home soul and how they will look like in case you make a brochure. Stationery, these are the letters and how they will be like the business cards, the gold stationery. This is just like a summary of how you will be printing when you're making some stationery items. Then the social media, how it will basically look like, all this. And then some of the templates. Now, these I will be using a lot on the website to help with the explanations too. Then, yeah, a conclusion. So, in summary, that's basically it. With these rules, I'll be using these rules to then design a landing page. So, I had a phone call with Ming today, and we were speaking about we were designing the Homesoul sitemap and came up with this. The landing page, the home page about us, and all these comments here. And ideally, I'll be using once we confirm the brand guideline, I will then be able to use this to make changes to the to make changes and to make updates, to make pages to all these pages that I'll be making for Homesoul. I'll share this with you as well so that you can check it out. But other than that, let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you.